What do you do now? What does the business?
We specialise in HMOs at the moment. We'll get messages from the council saying that they need room 1. They're going to be placing someone in there. We have people with mental health issues, drug addictions, alcohol addictions, domestic abuse victims. You don't have to, but we choose to go and manage that.
How much are you making doing this?
We've got an income of 70 grand a month. Works out about 43 grand profit a month.
Yeah. What are some of the horror stories that you've had to deal with in this business?
Knives, drugs, guns. So I've had an attempt on my life in January. A guy attacked me with a knife.
If you take away the death risk, it's great fun.
Of all the strategies, you've chosen to do what you're doing, which is social housing.
Yep.
From a commercial sense, do you think that it's one of the best in terms of for making money? We've got a new government in right now, and there's hundreds of millions of pounds being spent from the councils to help vulnerable people get into properties. This is something that you can not only make a difference, but also make a lot of money from as well. This is social housing. In this interview, I'm going to be interviewing Charlie and Kim. Kim used to work in the council, but now she's on the other side, and she is a registered supplier landlord alongside her partner Charlie, giving properties to the council, but also making a lot of income themselves. They're making tens of thousands of pounds a month doing this, and you're going to learn the exact steps to social housing in this Winners on a Wednesday. So I'm going to start with yourself, Kim. Your background is working in the council. So what have you done historically in the council, and how have you been helping people?
Council I've been with for probably about 9 years. No, I think actually even more than that. I think 2012. I started with the council. Started off as lifeguard, cleaner, bar staff, just learn how the councils work, and I've just stuck with them for so many years. But the last 4 years prior to us starting our company, I was doing temporary and emergency accommodation as the officer for the council during COVID, which meant everyone was being placed into accommodation. It was 2 councils that had just been merged as well. So there was still 2 lots of paperwork, 2 lots of managements, 2 lots of teams. But I was the only one doing it as well. It was just me and then my manager above me.
So housing people that are in what situation?
Homeless. Simple answer to that. So it's those who are entitled to a duty from the council. So that could be someone who's diabetic and dependent on the insulin. So therefore insulin needs a fridge. You can't have that when you're on the street. Yeah. So there has to be something to give the council duty to accommodate you. But those sort of people were the people that we were.
So you were working as a council worker, helping house the homeless people.
Yeah.
Now you guys have got your own business.
Yep.
What do you do now? What does the business look like?
So we supply accommodation. So we've gone from one side of it of Kim would be ringing up suppliers to go and house people. We are now a list supplier. So we specialise in HMOs at the moment. We'll get messages from the council saying that they need room 1. They're going to be placing someone in there. So then we meet them, arrange a good time for them, let them into the property. And generally, we should just leave it as that. They've got a place to live now. But where there's such a lack of supported accommodation, we have people with mental health issues, drug addictions, alcohol addictions, domestic abuse victims, prison leavers, the whole lot. So when you're putting such highly volatile people into one building, we don't have to, but we choose to go and manage that because it gives people sort of a better lifestyle. Because generally they would go and get kicked out when actually they're not really doing anything wrong. It's just not completely up to policy. So we do day-to-day running of that.
Of all the strategies, because you guys run the academy, so you've learned about HMOs, deal sourcing, service accommodation, lease option agreements, every single strategy. And you've chosen to do what you're doing, which is social housing.
Yep.
Do you think that your strategy is, I know you find it very rewarding, but from a commercial sense, do you think that it's one of the best in terms of for making money?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
If you do it well and you know what you're doing with it, absolutely. And I mean, in the nicest way, the government aren't any good at fixing this problem long term. It's not a problem that's going to go away.
What is the problem?
Homelessness, the affordability of properties, it's something that's always going to happen.
So people
it's
can't
always
afford
gonna
to pay their rent, and then they end up getting evicted,
Yeah.
but they've got no house to go to, so they go to the council.
Yep.
And
And
then the council don't want to pay for new houses. I mean, as you know, developing houses yourself, you probably have to give I think it's something like 10% of what you build to the council.
Well, it depends on the scheme.
size
On the
of it.
scheme, yeah. But I don't want to go and do that because I lose money then. If I'm building a house, I lose that house. I don't make the money on it. So all developers are trying to find ways not to do that, but then the councils don't have any houses. And they've got such a massive demand. I mean, one of the councils we work with got a demand for 2,000 houses.
And they've actually shut down their housing register as well. If you go on their website, it states do not apply.
But it's going to take...
That's not good, is it?
No, they've got
Where are people supposed to go?
15-year wait list.
15-year wait list.
That's if you're on emergency move.
That's ridiculous. You may as well not be on the waiting list.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, generally speaking, councils tend to be about a year and a half. But this council we're working with is 15 years.
So do you have a very good relationship with the council then? Do they love you guys, or is it a little bit of a tough relationship?
A little bit of both, isn't it? Yeah, they love us because in their own words, what they've said is we are the best they've got. We're the most expensive, but we're the best.
So
Because
they
of what
pay
we
you.
do.
So the council are your client.
Yeah, council is our tenants, yeah.
Yeah.
So for us, there's no risk of not being paid, or there's limited risk of us not being paid because our client is the council. It's not the tenant. So no matter what the situation the tenant gets themselves into, we know we're going to get paid. Even if the tenant's not paying their rent, it doesn't matter. We're still getting paid.
We're not having to rely on the housing benefits or housing element or however it is that they're trying to get help with. Because a lot of people don't realise as well, if you get paid direct from Universal Credits for someone, they can just contact Universal Credit and have it changed over to themselves personally.
Yeah, they can.
And then as landlord, you've lost it, but we don't have to worry about that either.
Yeah.
Well, and they're paying the local housing allowance, whereas you're getting paid presumably emergency rates.
A lot more,
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does your business model work then? So you're renting properties from landlords.
Yep.
You're offering full market rent.
Yep.
Fixing long leases, generally speaking. And then you're then passing these houses on to the council.
Yep.
The council are paying you a very high rate on the basis that you're providing something that's short term that works for the people they're looking for. And if the council are looking for emergency accommodation, it's very difficult for them to find the right type of property in the right area.
Exactly.
So and then you're then controlling these properties on behalf of the landlords and liaising between the council and the landlords effectively and taking a fee.
Yeah. So essentially we roll every single strategy you teach into one. So we deal source our own properties. We find the investors to purchase them. We go for the purchase of the property. We refurb or convert the properties into what we need it to be and make money for the investor that way. Then we guarantee them their rent and we run the property as if it's an SA. So they're on nightly contracts. It's done by booking forms. So they've got no rights to the property at all.
So you're getting these rent to rents from landlords that you know who you're selling them the deal in the first place.
Yeah, so the location we're in, applying for a company let, they want 3 years history, which you can't have 3 years history if you only just started.
Because you guys are still relatively new as a company.
Yeah,
right?
it was nearly 2 years.
Right.
Which when we first started, we got to about 6 months and it was a year that they needed. And we were like, great, we've only got a few more months. Then we hit a year and everyone changed to, you now need 3 years to be able to do this or this. Or this.
It's not easy to rent.
No.
Very, very. In fact, I was working with a friend recently trying to help him get into property. And I said, the first thing you need to do is you need to move out because he was living at home. And I said, the second thing you do is you need to get on the property ladder. It was quicker for him to buy a house as an investment and get the keys than it was for him to just get through referencing to rent somewhere.
So I fail references for estate agencies, to the point I am paying a friend £300 a month for him to be to do the reference for me,
to be a guarantor,
which
is perfectly legal, by the way. You're not doing anything unethical there, because if he's a guarantor and he's saying, "Look, I trust you," he's basically an insurance policy for you. He's saying, "Look, you give me £300 a month, and I'll take that very small risk that you end up not being able to pay the rent, and they come for me."
Yeah, and the funny thing is I earn 10 times more than him.
Yeah.
But he has to be my guarantor.
That's crazy, though. Because you haven't got the history and the longevity.
Yeah.
And being self-employed or having a business as well. Everybody expects you to have a job. Even me, when I'm applying for stuff, they're like, okay, so what's your salary? And I'm like, well, I don't pay myself very much money.
Yeah.
But I got millions in the bank. Mm-hmm. But it's difficult. People can't get their heads around.
Exactly. We do exactly the same. I mean, Kim's on the threshold, £1,050 a month.
Yep. Just enough to pay national insurance. But otherwise.
Yeah. And then I pay myself £3,000 that does the household bills.
Mm-hmm. And the rest you just stick it into the business.
Yep. And we just keep building up.
Are you buying stuff now as well yourself?
We've got lease options on the go.
That's good.
So I've got two properties that we already have control and management of.
That you've got that you're agreeing to buy it down the line.
Yep. So
that's smart.
We're waiting for them to go through.
We went on about that at the ACPP. Yeah. That was a big few weeks back.
So that one's been one of the biggest pains in my backside going. Just again trying to paperwork to get that through, because my company is linked to social housing. Mortgage brokers don't like it. Yeah. Because we're housing vulnerable adults.
Yeah.
So they're trying to find everything they can to not mortgage it. So the vendors.
It's a little bit bad, that, though, in my opinion. I said this on the. Do you remember the social housing intensive?
Yeah.
That this is a problem, but it's almost discrimination, isn't it? It's like the mortgage lenders saying, we don't like the fact that there's going to be people in the property that are vulnerable people. It's like...
So they have openly admitted it's not that they don't want homeless people in the accommodation. It's if we stopped paying the mortgage, they don't want to be in the media.
The reputation
kicking
damage.
People out.
Yeah.
And we've explained to them that worst case scenario, say we didn't pay the mortgage and you removed us from the property.
And it looks like they're kicking out vulnerable people and it's terrible.
Yeah, and I went, you wouldn't be kicking them out, because all we do is we transfer them over to a different property. Because they're on day licenses, they can move that day.
But they'd be kicking a company out, not them.
But then the vulnerable people are being penalised, and now people aren't able to get finance, therefore aren't able to get properties for these vulnerable people.
Yep.
Just because the banks don't want to be seen to be having to evict vulnerable people. Yeah. So it's almost, you're hurting the people that you're trying to...
It's easier for them not to help than it is to take the risk of the stigma that they've had to evict someone.
Yeah.
Just turn a blind eye to it. It's not there, which doesn't help us at all. So we have to find different creative ways of doing it.
What is the way around that then? So if I was wanting to buy a property to rent to you, how would I get finance on that property?
You do it your same normal, typical way that you would do it without stating that you're putting social into it, because...
So you don't lie.
Because
you don't tell the truth.
Because you can get a mortgage without having someone in it. You know you want to put somebody in there as a company let, but you don't have that lined up yet.
So you just don't tell them who... You just say that I'm going to be renting it out. Don't tell them who to...
I want a company to be able to rent my property, so that your mortgage will allow you to have a company to rent it. Or with us, we'll state, but we just want to have a HMO. Don't know who I'm putting in it, but have a HMO.
And also, as long as it's true. I mean, listen, I'm not giving advice here, because I would say speak to a financial advisor, speak to your broker. Yeah. But my understanding is there is a problem of lying when you're getting a mortgage. So, for example, if you get a residential mortgage and your intent is to rent it out, then that's a breach of mortgage terms. Or potentially mortgage fraud at worst. But if you're weighing up your options and you just say, I'm going to rent it out, then maybe. Maybe.
That's where I'm saying, don't lie, never lie, because obviously, it's fraud. But you don't have to go and tell the truth as well.
What I would say,
forthcoming.
I would say, speak to a broker.
100%.
Put your cards on the table. They're registered with the FCA.
Yeah.
Tell them what you're doing and let them talk to the lenders, let them liaise, and
Yep.
let them find somebody that's suitable. And that's probably the safest.
Yeah. Let
or,
them deal with all the information.
Or find a lender that actually, I'm sure what's going to happen, like serviced accommodation, lenders start clicking on and waking up to the fact.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of lenders wouldn't give mortgages for serviced accommodation properties at all. But then people started realising, actually, this is becoming a thing now. I think lenders might start waking up to the fact that actually they just need to get with the times. We're in a massive crisis, and that, you know, we need to house these people. And it's not right to say that these houses can't be financed.
100%. I mean, it's a very new way of doing things. Having the whole social housing world, it was always there, but not many people knew about it. So with insurances, with even down to council tax, people didn't know how to deal with it. I mean,
what is the council tax situation then?
Well, that's the grey area as well, because technically they're all vulnerable adults, so we don't have to pay council tax. But trying to argue that fact, it's so much easier just to pay it because they don't know how it's meant to be. Am I meant to be paying business rates because it's as a business? But am I meant to be paying council tax because it's
but business rates
property?
you'll probably pay nothing because if it's under the threshold.
Exactly. So, but trying to get transferred over is a whole nother game.
My thoughts are, if I owned the property and I was doing long-term, doing this strategy, service accommodation is the same. But if I was doing social housing, I would argue the toss and I would tell the council, no, I'm not paying.
Yeah.
But if I was doing it as a rent-to-rent, and I might only have the property for a couple of years, the aggro and the hassle.
Exactly.
You may as well just sometimes pay it. If it's
and that's why we worked out, but we pay market rate to the point of the landlord pays the bills on some of our properties. So there's no point us even trying to get the rent, the council tax knocked off because we're not even paying it anyway.
What about insurance? What kind of insurance do you have on the properties?
So we get the landlords to fully insure the properties.
Like building insurance?
Yeah,
Standard building insurance.
Yeah. So we have our own insurances, so the sort of liability, damage, the full works like that. But we always advise the landlord to have their own, as if they're renting it out as a HMO, because that's what they are doing. They are renting their property out as a HMO. It just so happens that every single room is rented by our company.
Yeah.
So in Chelmsford, the go market rate is $750, including bills. We pay $750, and then they don't have to manage it.
Kim, have you left your job for the council now?
Yes.
How long ago did you leave your job?
2 years ago, I think.
Just to do property full time?
Yeah.
How long have you guys been together?
8 years.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I said, don't ask me to get me in trouble.
Yeah. So you're full time doing this now.
Mm-hmm.
What are you how much are you making doing this? From how much are the council giving you?
We've got an income of 70 grand a month. Works out about 43 grand profit a month.
Yeah. Right.
So healthy income.
It is, and it goes to show as well that money follows value.
Yeah.
If you solve the biggest problems, then you should and will get paid.
Yeah.
And rather than chasing what might have worked 5 years ago, it's saying, what's the problem today in the country? Well, there's a shortage of houses. The councils, I mean, what are the budgets? You'll probably know what the council budgets are for this.
Depends on what time of the year it is, because you can always tell when they've got too much money and need to spend it so they still get it the next year. I used to have a credit card for my work when I was still working for the council, and I'd be just going on booking.com. I had the highest Genius Award for booking.com, which was great because I did it in my personal email so I could use the benefits.
I'm sure Labour put the budgets up as well. I'm sure that, I can't remember the exact figures, I have to Google this. I'm sure it was like...
So social housing is separate to emergency accommodation. It still comes under the social housing bracket, but it's not funded the same way. Social housing, there isn't a cap, there isn't a budget. It is, if you have a duty, you have to pay it. So put in perspective, just one council, if we fulfilled their need, we could bring their budget down to £13 million a year, just on emergency accommodation to house 400 people. So that's a lot of money for a small amount of people, and that's one small council. So across the country, they're doing hundreds of millions, if not billions, a year just on emergency accommodation.
Yeah, because we're also talking local councils as well, not county councils, because they have absolutely no input at all into the actual placement of people.
Yeah. So, and that's just emergency accommodation, obviously.
What were you doing before, Charlie, and how much were you making in your previous job?
A little bit of everything. Did bar work, lorry driving, labourer, lawnmower mechanic, the whole lot. Generally speaking, about $2,000 a month.
What did you think when you first you saw the world of property? What were your initial thoughts?
It's all a lie. I'm never going to be able to do it. I'm never going to be able to afford a property. Nobody's going to go and rent to me. But I kept watching people be able to actually do it. So I thought, well, why not me?
Yeah, and normal ordinary people as well.
Yeah.
Not just people that are born into a rich family.
Yeah, I mean, I'm far from born into a rich family. But I thought, well, why not me? I can sell sand to an Egyptian. Why can I not get into property? So I gave it a go.
What changed?
COVID changed it. It was a matter of I'm either going to make something of myself or I'm going to have nothing. Because I'm working 40, 50 hours a week where I'm tired and not being able to afford anything. So it's got to change. Otherwise, I'm screwed.
Otherwise, you're evicted and you'll be a vulnerable person.
Yep, exactly that.
And that's, do you know what? I say that as obviously I was kind of joking, but there's actually truth to that, because the average, when you see people that are going, that are homeless and going to the council, they're not bums.
No.
They're people that the system have failed.
Yeah.
And they're people that have relied on going to school, getting a job, and often hardworking people that are just, if you're making £2,000 a month and the average rent in London is 2,100, how are you going to rent?
I mean, we had
how are you going to eat?
A 67-year-old man in emergency accommodation.
Yeah.
Worked all his life. But unfortunately, he was living private renting and the person wanted to go and sell the house. It's not his fault.
The fact that you guys care about the actual issues at hand, I think, is what makes you so successful in the business, as opposed to just trying to make money. Because if you're just trying to make money, I mean, you guys work relentlessly.
Yeah.
I mean,
we don't stop.
No, and you also, when you've got vulnerable people or people that are, homeless or struggling or addicts in your properties, it comes with a lot of problems.
Yeah.
It comes with a lot of issues, and I know firsthand what you guys have to deal with, the calls that you get.
Yeah, always interesting.
But that's, I think, what gives you the edge. And it's interesting that when did we first meet? What year was it?
Oh, I think we're going back nearly 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
I was at a crash course nearly 4 years ago. And then...
What did you think when you were at the crash course then? You were seeing me on stage?
It's all fake.
Really?
100%, it's all fake. There's no way that this is actually happening. You can't do this. You're walking up on stage, securing deals there and then on stage. It's not happening. You're talking to the same people constantly because they've got their hands up. So you're picking them. So it was all fake. It's 100%.
What do you mean talking to the same people?
When you're looking at something in a negative way, you'll pick the points out. You was talking to the same people. At the front, people were putting their hands up. You were choosing them, picking them, talking to them. So I wanted an excuse. Obviously, you're talking to them. They're paid actors. But actually, no, it wasn't that. It was...
That's hilarious that was in you. I mean, I make such an effort to try and get people from the back, and they do it.
Yeah.
Paid. So you thought they were paid actors?
Yeah, because to me, it makes sense. Of course, it's going to be paid actors. But I was looking at it in a negative way.
That's really interesting that you were that sceptical, that you...
Yeah.
Cynical.
The one thing which won me over was when you did the raffle and you was calling out all these people's names. Obviously, they got it. You was talking to them that day. They got it. You was talking to them as well. Oh, that person. Yeah, that's amazing. You were talking to them as well. And then you called my name. I went, hang on. But I won? Okay, maybe this is not fake. But I had to... It wasn't you who was doing something wrong. It was me who was doing something wrong. Yeah. I was looking at it as a negative way. And of course it looked like that, because you kept on talking to them. But actually what it was they were making themselves out there. They were trying. They were making themselves known. I was sat at the back. I was hiding. They were at the front, jumping in front of you, screaming and everything like that. Oh, pick me.
Yeah, if I
They
say you've
wanted
got
to
any
do it.
questions, of course I'm going to choose people that put their hand up.
Exactly. So I'll be the first one to say, yeah, I thought it was 100% fake, but it's not. And that's why it took me a little while to come onto the academy, because I had to go and prove to myself that it's not. Because I could have joined the academy and still had that thought of it's fake, it's wrong, you're lying to me, and I would never have achieved anything, because you can only teach me so much. If I don't put the effort in, I'm never going to do it.
That's so interesting. And also now your mom's joined the academy.
Yeah, mum's joined the academy.
And now everybody's joined You're getting everybody down.
Exactly.
I mean, did you guys join the academy together?
No,
A month later, weren't it?
You went to test the
2
waters
months,
first.
yeah.
Yeah.
He did his first week's course. I then went and joined him for the second one, which would have then been my first.
You were slowly does it.
Yeah.
And then your third one was my second, which is when I then finally signed up as well.
Who signed you up for the academy, Charlie? Do you remember what?
Chris.
Was it Chris?
Yeah.
Legend he is.
So Chris was there on my crash course. I told him my situation, and he went, "You'll be here one day. Here's my number." And so he gave me his personal number as well.
Yeah.
He went, "You'll be here. Just give me a call." And yeah, I called him up on day before the 1st of April, wasn't it? No, I called him up on the 1st of April, sorry. And went, "I'm ready." Paid it over the phone there and then. And he's like, "Fantastic, welcome to the family." And then I got an email come through to say that my very first training day was the next day. And I was like, crap, I've got to get there. So yeah, he gave that belief in me that I will be there, even though I told him my entire situation. I spent my last £20 of my money to put fuel in the car to get to the crash course. But that's because I was looking for that dream, that hope, that belief. And I will always thank my brother for it, because I was going to not turn up to the crash course. I started panicking, thought, no, it's not for me, not going to have it. And he made me go. So I turned up, and yeah, it's changed my life.
That's amazing.
That's changed my life.
That's really powerful, Charlie. And it's great to see that now you're solving an actual big problem.
Yeah.
It's not like you went through the training, you learned how to make money, and now you're rich. No, you're wealthy when you solve problems.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing.
Exactly.
What did you think? Was it different for you, Kim, because you came down after Charlie had kind of done some stuff, or were you also just as skeptical?
No, it was a bit different for me, because he'd already done the crash course. He'd already done a week with you and all the mentors. So my first one was more, wow, this is quite a big event. That was my first initial thought, because I didn't do the crash course. I went straight in with a week with you and all your mentors. And it was like, wow, this is
serious,
intense. And there's a lot of people. Yeah. But it was good. I absolutely loved it, which is why then back again the next month, signed up. And then I did actually do a crash course, but that was when we were starting to get your mum. Yeah.
Oh, you took your mum to a crash course?
Yeah.
I was already on the academy, already done all 3 of the live courses with you, and then I did the crash course.
Has your mum made her money back yet from the academy?
She's made a hell of a lot more.
That's so cool. So she'll be on Winners on a Wednesday before
I was actually on the phone to her when I was coming through the gate, and she said to tell you she'll be here soon.
I bet she will. I bet she will.
She's smashing it.
How would one get into the business that you're in? Because I want to talk about some of the hardships with your business as well, because people can look at the profit and they can say, oh, wow, 23 grand a month profit or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic. And it is. But we'll talk about some of the challenges with the business, but also how do you get in? Do you have to become a registered provider? Do you have to just get a connection with the council? How do you get into the council?
So this is where a lot of people get confused. People go around saying that they are a registered provider. If you're a registered provider, you've got to be a CIC or a CQC registered company or a charity. Yeah. We're not. So we're not a registered provider, but we are a registered supplier, because we're registered with the council. But technically, we're just a landlord. That's all we are.
So you're a registered landlord?
Yeah, we're registered on the council system.
How do you become registered?
Call up and ask them.
And they'll just register you?
Yep. The difficulty is actually getting through to the right person to register with.
One council took us a year to get through to the right person, and when we finally did, she went, "Where have you been all my life?"
Yeah. But reception is the hardest people to get through.
So it's communication that's
100%. 100%.
But it's not even necessarily just communication. It's knowing who you need to speak to within that council. Because different councils do it different ways, and you have different departments that take on the new suppliers.
So what advice would you give to somebody? Let's say somebody's in a different area from you. Let's say they're in Ealing, and you don't know Ealing, and you don't know the council in Ealing, and they're saying, oh, man, I want to do what you guys have done. I want to connect with the council. I want to solve the problem. I know there's a problem in Ealing.
Yep.
I know there's massive shortage of houses, and I can see the MP talking about it, and I know there's people homeless. I see them on the streets, and I want to do what you're doing, but I don't know who to speak to or what questions to even ask.
So, if you're prepared to do emergency accommodation, call the council, ask them to speak to the homeless team or the emergency accommodation team.
Yeah.
They might not have that department. It might come under sort of housing options or the housing team.
The best option is to ask to speak to housing, really, because you can then learn from them, or attempt to try and learn from them, how their council works.
If you're wanting to do emergency accommodation, don't fall trap to their offer to put your houses under contract for private sector rentals, because all that's doing is giving you a tenant on an ASD, and you're only getting the housing rate, which is obviously a lot lower than market rate.
They don't have enough properties on the housing register to give people permanent homes. So if you're not careful, they'll turn you into a landlord for that. So you'll get someone off that list to try and help with it.
Become a landlord.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're saying to them without saying to them, I want to do the thing that makes loads of money.
Yeah.
But you can't say that.
Yeah.
No, you can't. And even when you speak to the emergency accommodation team, depending on who you speak to, you can say, right, I can go and offer you this rate, and they'll laugh at you and go, no, we can't offer you that. We can only offer you this. And you look at it and it doesn't even cover the bills.
Yeah.
Some councils are living in a dream world.
But but there'll be someone else in the department that goes, no, they don't know what they're talking about. They all contradict each other.
Yep.
So you can easily speak to someone in the council and you can think, oh, Birmingham City Council said this. No, Birmingham City Council didn't say that. David said that.
Yep. Exactly that.
But Jeremy, who works in the same department, said something completely different.
Yep.
We did that with Chelmsford, as I said, or Kim said, it took us a year to get into Chelmsford. And we kept speaking to them every single week. I got banned at one point, didn't I, from calling?
Yes, I started calling.
They banned you?
Yeah.
How? Why?
Because it's harassment. I'm constantly harassing them, offering them a service, which I knew they needed. And they told me not to call up again.
It's because they kept telling us they didn't have a problem.
Yeah.
And you knew they did?
Yeah.
And did you end up getting in there in the end still?
Yeah.
Hang on. They banned you for harassment.
Yep.
And you continued in your name.
Yep.
Did they not ban you for harassment?
No.
How did you get around them, man?
I just knew what to say. I'd been listening to some of his calls, so I just did it in a slightly different twist and basically went, I know what your problem is. I know how you work. I did it for 4 years. Trying to help you here. Stop causing us problems. We know you need the help. Let us help. And managed to get
a name, didn't you?
I got a name.
And then that's when I ran with it.
Yeah, after that, we then started going through to reception and asking to be put through to that specific person rather than
Is there not a way to go in or to turn up or to just network?
No, because everyone's home.
Yeah.
Since COVID.
No one works in the council office anymore. They all work from home.
There's nowhere to go in.
No, otherwise normally you would turn up at the door, bang on the door and sit there until somebody comes and saw you.
Yeah.
But you can't even do that now.
Chamber of Commerce meetings and stuff. I mean, there's...
But I don't know anything about Chamber of Commerce meetings. It's not something...
I found it helpful back in the day, And also LinkedIn.
Yep.
LinkedIn I found really helpful. Going on LinkedIn, and you can find a lot of people on LinkedIn. Yeah. It's a bit easier than calling the councils. But you need to call the councils as well. Mm-hmm. I think you need to do everything. You need to be aggressive.
Exactly.
But nice, but you need to really push.
We send emails non-stop, phone calls non-stop until we finally get somewhere.
Sometimes it just depends on who rings as well, because you've rung a different council before, got absolutely nowhere with them. Then you've told me he's got nowhere. So I've gone, all right, I'll try. 5 minutes later, I walk back in the room and go, here you go, here's a name, number, and email direct to somebody. And he went, how do you do that? I heard your conversation. You said the same as me.
Yep.
So you guys are a great team.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are some of the horror stories? I know there's been a couple.
Yeah.
That you've had to deal with in this business of dealing with the vulnerable people.
I'll let you mostly run with this one.
Yeah, I know it's all. You let Charlie deal with that.
Yeah.
You sweep all the councils, and Charlie has to deal with the.
Yeah.
So obviously we've knives, drugs, guns. So I've had an attempt on my life in January. A guy wanted, bless him, he wanted £500,000 so he can get a house so that he can never be evicted again.
Fair enough, I understand that. He just comes to the crash course.
Yep, yeah. But he wanted me just to hand it to him in a bag and just £500,000 cash.
Because he sees you as someone that's helpful and helping him, and it's like the giving each take a mile thing, maybe?
No, he thought that he had me on the ropes as an illegal company. He thought I was this big time mob boss because I'm doing benefit fraud and
identity theft.
Oh, so he thought you were playing the system illegally.
Because where we run HMOs and it's emergency accommodation, so people are in and out all the time, so much post comes in. So for one house, I might have 30 different names of post going to that house.
Because it takes a while to stop that post turning up.
Yeah,
it does.
So he was there for a couple of weeks. He went through every single bit of post and came to the conclusion that I'm this illegal company. So he made me the offer of give him £500,000 in cash and he'll keep it quiet. And I was like, right, okay, well, just meet me at the house. I went and got a council worker who knows him very well to turn up with me, explained to him, nope, like, it's not happening. This is a fully legal company. It checks out with the council. Look, they're here, speak to them. And he wasn't happy with that. So he attacked me with a knife. No emotions or anything like that. Just that she came at me. So we dealt with that.
He attacked you with a knife?
Yep.
Yeah, it was like a switch just flipped, wasn't it? He didn't seem like he wasn't sober. It didn't seem like he was under the influence of anything. Didn't seem like he was...
Did he swing
like
at you with it, or did you just pull it out?
So with my upbringing, I can see that sort of stuff. So I knew he had a knife on him already, and he took a step back, put his hand in his pocket and started to draw it out, and I clocked him one.
And what did you do?
I hit him.
Hit him?
Yeah. Yeah.
Defense.
Yeah, exactly. It's self-defense.
And he did have a knife, that was...
Yep. He admitted it in police station. The police took 36 hours to turn up.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the phone with the police as me and him were sort of wrestling around.
Oh my goodness. So he goes to pull out a knife, he steps back, puts it in his pocket, and as he pulls it out...
I'll just clock him.
You smacked him. Where did you hit him?
In the face. First place to go.
And did he drop or did he fumble? What happened?
So he fumbled, then he panicked, didn't he?
Yeah.
He did this I call it a disco dance. He sort of waved his hands in the air, started jumping around, and then came at me again.
And you grabbed him?
So yeah, as he came at me again, I grabbed him, spun him around so that I had the house to the back of me, because he claimed that he had his friends in a car sitting down the road. So I wanted to be able to see the road. So I sort of spun us around. He then broke free, threw keys at my face, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So I got cut down here. And then basically I said, look, right, don't walk away. We can still talk about this. I can understand where you're coming from. You're literally street homeless, living in a tent. You're desperate. I know that. We can talk. Don't run away from this. So I was still giving him a chance.
Yeah.
He wasn't having any of it. He got arrested about a month later. Didn't try and hide anything. He admitted it 100% to the police. And unfortunately, he was given a
community resolution
order.
Because he admitted to it all and said that he was guilty, and that is what he did.
Guilty of what? Of having a knife and pulling it out?
Yep, and attacking me with it. Yep, he pleaded guilty to it. I had 7 witnesses as well, stating that it happened.
The council worker lady was there?
Council, yep. So it was a guy, I won't say his name, but yeah, a guy who I know pretty well. He was there.
Restraining order?
No restraining order. He got a community resolution order, which means he's meant to write me an apology letter. And then I was meant to have an hour's intervention with him about how this is mediation, about how it's affected his life.
That's weak.
Because the police stated that it wasn't in the taxpayer's best interest to prosecute.
We offered to pay to take it to court ourselves.
It's $5,000 to go to court. It's part of the homeless community. the one thing which is fantastic, but also a death
Terrifying.
sentence as well in the homeless community, is they're quicker than texting. Information gets back so quickly, which if you're trying to find someone, it's fantastic. I've got so many friends in the homeless community where I'll just put a message out, they'll find someone for me really quickly, and then we know that person's all right.
Oh, that incident itself, that got back to the house. So there was a house other side of
The area we're in.
the city, which we were going to for another issue, not quite as severe, but we were going for another issue. We got there, they were asking us how we were.
They already know who did it, what happened, where he was.
Rough. So it's not for the faint-hearted.
Nope.
Or, I mean, I remember speaking with you guys about finding someone to come in and help take some of the brunt off.
Yeah.
And you said to me, I quite enjoy it though. I like the challenge and I like being with people and helping them and getting my hands dirty.
100%, because
If you take away the death risk and the knife, and if you take away that, it's great fun. We thoroughly enjoy it.
Because if you go with a standard supplier or provider, they don't have that element of care. So a lot of our tenants would be made permanently street homeless because of little things they've done. I mean, I've got a care leaver, 18 years old, female. Of course she's going to be a nightmare. She's 18. That's a nightmare on its own. And now she's living technically by herself. She's going to be a nightmare. So yeah, she breaks the rules every now and then, but you treat her as she's an 18-year-old child. And stuff, we can't ground her, but we say, look, you can't be doing that. You can't be breaking that rule. You can't be doing this. With us, she's slowly learning and growing.
She's so much better since first time she moved in.
So it's rewarding.
Yeah.
What do the council pay on average per person, per room?
It's different from council to council.
There's some councils where it's about
for you guys,
£20-30 a night.
Yeah.
We get £60 a night, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
So
per person, per room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how many rooms do you have in your HMOs on average?
Average about six rooms. So we got 37 rooms, I think, in total.
38 currently.
38 currently.
With the capability of having 42, but that's once we've refurbed 2 of the properties.
Yep.
And increased them from
4
beds
to
6s.
6s. And they're the 2 lease options. So we're only a small time. So, and this is what a lot of people see, is they see the money in it. I mean, I'm turning over.
You can't see the money with a business like this.
No.
And I even say this on the training because, on the social housing intensive course, I say, don't I? I say, this is not for the faint-hearted. I mean, you can do it in a way. You can rent to a housing association.
Oh, you make it easy.
And then it's super easy.
Yeah.
And if you're actually going to be the point of contact with the tenants, it's a tough bit.
If you're going to do it super easy, you've got to expect to lose some of that income.
Of course.
Yes, exactly.
Of course. You can either have the massive income or the passive income.
Yeah.
If you want it to be massive and passive, then it's going to take some years to build up.
Exactly. And that's what we're slowly doing, is slowly building it up. But we put the work in, and it's sort of a labour of love. I enjoy what I do because I get to help people. So yes, the money is great, but majority of it is put back into our properties so that we can grow more and help more. But we've teamed up with other companies where they've donated TVs. So I think we've got like 40 odd TVs, and that was through a company my mum works with. They just donated them. So the amount of people come through don't have anything. So giving them a TV, something to do in their room.
It's rewarding.
Exactly.
Well,
it's been great.
Charlie, Kim, thank you for sharing your stories, and wish you nothing but success and prosperity.
Thank you very much. It's great being here.